Well, welcome to my kitchen where we've got a fantastic activity for you today. Claire has been telling us the amazing story about how God made the first man and woman and why he made them. And of course, God didn't just make Adam and Eve, he made you and me, and we are so special to him. And today we're going to make people. Well, not real people, we're going to make gingerbread people, just like this little guy. Isn't he amazing? One of the amazing things that Claire told us was that we are made in God's image. What on earth does that mean? Well, it just means that we have been made to be like God and to show people what he is like. Let me try and help us to understand that a little bit better. Perhaps you know somebody who is just really, really kind. We've seen so many really kind people during this pandemic, haven't we? The Bible tells us that God is kind. He is perfectly kind. And when we see kind people, well, in some small way, they show us how amazingly kind God is. Maybe you know somebody who's really, really patient. The Bible tells us that God is patient. And maybe in some small way, that patient person can help us to understand a tiny bit about how patient God is. Of course, there are some people who aren't always kind and loving and good. And sadly, when Adam and Eve chose to disobey God and do things the way they wanted to do them, well, that changed everything in the world. And maybe, if we're honest, we're not perfectly kind and good all the time. But something amazing about God is that he is forgiving. And when anybody comes to him and asks him to forgive them, well, he will, because he loves us so much and he wants to be friends with us. Isn't that incredible? And maybe you find that there are people that it's hard to be kind to and hard to be loving towards. Do you know what? If you love Jesus and you're following him and you've invited God to be part of your life, you can ask him to help you to be more like him. That's amazing. Now, how about making some gingerbread men together with Zara and me? Okay, Zara, so we have our saucepan here and you're going to help me and we're going to fill it with some really nice stuff. Okay, so the first thing we've already measured out our ingredients, is 200 grams of butter. And you've washed your hands?
Yes.
Good job. Okay, can you take that and put it into the saucepan? Just lift it out. That's it. Good. Pop it into the saucepan. There's a wee bit more. 200 grams. We've got 200 grams of brown sugar. Can you put that into the saucepan as well? Good job. And we have 140 grams of this. Do you know what this is?
Is it honey?
It could be honey. You could use that too, but we've got golden syrup. So let's try and get that into the saucepan as well. You might need to use this very special spoon called a spatula to get that all out of there. And the last thing are these delicious spices. So we put in 3 teaspoons of ginger, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Now, if you don't have these 3 spices, you might have something called mixed spice, and you can add in about 3 teaspoons of that instead. Okay, let's get that into the pot. Tip it all in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the cooker and we're going to heat this up over a low heat. Wow, look at that. Okay, so now that we're heating it, we're going to stir it quite often and it's all going to melt together. Look at that. Delicious. And now that it's all melted, we can turn the temperature up a wee bit until it's boiling. This is really exciting. Wait till you see what happens. This is our bicarbonate of soda. We'll add that in there and we'll give it a stir. And look, it's going all light and bubbly.
It's rising.
It is rising.
It's rising.
And now we're going to leave that for 15 minutes while we do the next part. Well, our kitchen is smelling delicious just now, isn't it, Zara? Yeah. And while we wait for that fabulous mixture to cool down, we're going to get the dry ingredients ready. We've got 500 grams of plain flour and a teaspoon of salt in this bowl, and we're going to add it to this bowl through our little sieve. So let's do that just now. Lovely. That puts lots of lovely air into our flour. And now we are going to mix the two together. Okay, Zara, while we're still waiting for this mixture to cool, I know there's something you love doing when we're baking, and that is
cracking the egg.
Yes, you do, and you're very good at it. So could you crack that egg and then give it a little mix with a fork, because we'll need that after we've mixed these two things together. Great. I think we are ready to mix it all together. How exciting. Okay, here we go, Zara. So I'm going to add the flour bit by bit and you're going to mix it into the wet mix. Okay. Here we go. Now remember that egg you cracked and whisked for me?
Yes.
Let's put that in just now. Lovely, and one final mix to bring that all together.
It looks really nice to eat.
Okay, so we've taken our mix out of the saucepan and we've put it on the table, and we're going to knead it together until it's nice and smooth. Okay, let's knead. There we go, and now what we need to do is we need to cool this down. So we're going to wrap it in cling film and then put it in the fridge for an hour. There we go. Okay, so we've taken our lump of dough out of the fridge. It was a wee bit hard, so we've softened it up in our hands a little bit, and now we're ready to roll it out and then cut out our shapes. So you've got your rolling pin, I found a water bottle, and that'll do the job, and let's roll out our dough. Okay, there we go. So now we're ready to cut out. Now we do have some cookie cutters. Maybe you've got some of these at home that you can use. If not, maybe you can cut out with a knife or mold a little man and flatten it. We're going to cut out now and put these onto our oven trays. Okay, so we are ready to put these in the oven now. We've been heating it while we've been rolling and cutting to 140 or 160 if you don't have a fan oven. But you will need help from an adult for this, because remember, it's very hot and we don't want anybody getting hurt. We just want to have some delicious gingerbread men to eat. You've got lots of tiny ones.
Yeah.
I've got some big ones. Let's go and put them in the oven. Look how many gingerbread men we've made. Fantastic. And now we can eat them just like this to test them. or we can decorate them. And so we've got some icing sugar and some water, and we've got some leftover sprinkles from Christmas time. And so we are going to add a little bit of water to the icing sugar. You can stir it just a tiny bit. There we go. Stir that all in. Brilliant. So pick one of your cookies and let's decorate. And that's it. This is an epic activity today, so well done if you got to the end and managed to get yourself a decorated gingerbread man. I hope you really enjoy it, and we'll see you again next week for something hopefully a little bit more simple. Goodbye.